G'day, I'm Mike Coyles. Boys and I have been out and about giving more stories for you to view. We hope you enjoy this show. Welcome to this week's Vintage New Zealand Farm Machinery. I'm Mike Self, and today we're going to explore a yard that has a ton of history in terms of New Zealand's motoring history, New Zealand's farming history, but also has a whole pile of interesting bits and pieces that we want to look to. We're in the yard of Taranaki truck dismantlers. Once upon a time, this yard was the hub of car production in New Zealand. The only time we've ever had a mass-produced vehicle actually built in New Zealand was the Trekker, New Zealand's answer to Land Rover, and it was assembled here. Motor Holdings brought in the Skoda running gear, built up the Trekkers, and they went into great production. When the Trekker era came to an end, another little car, four-wheel drive utes, the Subaru Subaru, if you're an Aussie, were assembled here, and that went on for quite a few years. Unfortunately, the yard was closed down and laid dormant for a little while. And our man Bruce, who we're going to catch up with very shortly, he turned it into a truck dismantler's yard. And there's all sorts of little bits of history here, but also what we want to show you is a few of the things when you want to restore your trucks. These are the people to give a yell to. They can find bits, but it's just a Sheddy's heaven to walk through and see all the lovely bits and pieces here. But just cast your mind back, imagine Subarus, Trekkers, and the other little agricultural treasure that we featured a couple of weeks ago, the Mountain Goat farm bike. They were also assembled just in all this amazing part of Waitara's history. Just round the corner as well, the Swan Dry factory was flourishing. Amazing, isn't it? Please excuse me if I get waylaid as we hunt for Bruce, because you find all sorts of little treasures. Remember a day when Bedford buses were the only bus on the road and you got picked up for school, for your long distance travel, all in a big old beddy like this. You know, the history is here, the stories are here. Trucking, part of our national psyche. Well, there we have the man standing in the door. G'day there, Bruce. How's it going?
For a while.
Oh, no. Got to tell a secret. Very hospitable place on a Friday afternoon here. A few bevies and a bit of truck talk and a bit of other stuff that comes to balls.
Yeah. No, always going to have an ale after work.
Yeah. This yard, it's an amazing eclectic collection of trucks. We've just had a quick survey around there. There's a whole chapters and chapters of New Zealand transport history.
Yeah.
All lined up.
Yeah, it's hard to believe. There's I think we're up to about 1,500 or 1,600 trucks now.
Gosh,
yeah. So we've seen a big variety of trucks over the years come through, from old D-Series Fords and Bedfords and even the odd J1 Bedford, but now we seem to be into the later model Japanese and
yeah. What made you come here and start wrecking trucks?
I always had a passion for working on vehicles, and I could see there was an opportunity to make good money out of trucks. And it was just a passion of mine. I really have always enjoyed doing it. You know, love test driving them, and I've always enjoyed pulling them to bits. And but easier than putting them back together.
Yes, you don't. Yes, someone else can put the bits on.
Yeah.
But how much of a market is there? 1,500 trucks says there's lots of demand for second-hand parts for trucks, and just in New Zealand?
No, it's we export around the world as well. We do a little bit with Pakistan. They sort of buy the cheaper older stuff. You know, they don't want to pay good money for it, but believe it or not, there's a market in Pakistan. Have sold stuff to Rarotonga and a lot to Fiji. A lot of the times they'll come from Fiji to here to look for stuff. They actually buy a lot of our stuff over here in New Zealand and put it into their buses over there, believe it or not.
Good. Bit of a frightener if you're a tourist.
Actually my young fella's over there at the moment pulling out a wire loom for a guy that's got a J08C engine. He's obviously bought that somewhere else, and we're going to supply the wire loom, the steering wheel, the dash. I'm actually hoping to go to Fiji in a month's time to go and see some of the stuff fitted into buses, because I still can't relate to how they actually convert it all
adjust
over.
And everything.
Apparently they've got a lot of old Leyland buses and they convert them over to the later Japanese Hino stuff. They're big fan of
That's
Hino.
an interesting thing, is that so much can drop into a Leyland, you know, and now you think of the Jaguars that had Chevy 350s dropped into them, and even some of the Isuzu diesels that drop into Jaguars, and some of them become mechanically reliable.
It's amazing to think though that how much you can export. You know, it is an incredible job really. We're nationwide throughout New Zealand, from Invercargill right through to Kaitaia. And it's an overnight service too, you know.
That's brilliant. And individuals as well as businesses can give you a call, and
definitely. You'd be surprised how many local people might just come through the gate as well. And it's still surprising to hear how many people say, "I didn't know you guys were here." And we've been here 16 years now.
Gosh, well that's a big lot. What was your first truck you bought?
It was a half cab Bedford truck. It used to be an old hooker's truck. And it had a buggered gearbox, and I got that and a little Isuzu Alpha. I think I brought the two of them for $1,500. And I think I sold the engine for a couple of grand and the cab for $1,000. I sort of doubled my money just on that without rattling off the rest, you know.
And
still doing the same today. Now there's 10 of us here. I can't believe it.
That's a lot of people, and and some of the, I imagine, looking at some of the truck bodies that are around, you've got some massive gear that's motors and things there.
Oh hell yeah. There's even an old TS3 Comma engine next door. I don't know if you're interested in seeing that running.
I'd love to, but I've noticed a couple of big gaping holes opening to sheds. Can we go and
let's go
have a look and see what's in those?
Yep, more than welcome.
Bruce, here we've got, there's crankshafts, there's heads, there's blocks, there's injectors, all sorts of things here. What department is this one?
This is what we call our dead engine shed. When we sell an engine, we get the old unit back, so we'll quite often strip it down and have it on the shelf ready to go.
And is that an expected thing to do? You know, you sell one and then it means that whoever's fitting it has got somewhere to get rid of. It's part of the recycling?
No, it's just all part of what we do here, really. You don't often sell a crankshaft, but you'll be surprised over a 12-month period. Like, I sometimes think, what are we going to sell out of here? It looks like rubbish, but you know, you'll be surprised. You might end up selling the exhaust manifold off of this for $250, $300. You know.
Right. I see. Yes. And then you've already made the money on its replacement that you've sent out.
Definitely.
Well, I want to go around and look at some decent real engines that we can pick up. Can we get round this way?
Yeah, we sure can.
Lovely. The Bruce here. The heaven of gearboxes and motors. Are these your good guys? Yep,
they sure are. Anything that's good for resale, this is what we call the good engine shed. And sometimes the shelves are that full we have to end up putting it on the floor, so on the computer it's just in the big shed on the floor ready to go.
Yes. Well, you look around here and there's the engines of legend, isn't there? You know, the big old Cummins. They've got to be one of the real, well, I suppose engines that people aspired to having in their trucks, you know.
Well, back in the old days when they were driving T-lines and S-lines, they'd have the 300 or 350 big cam, and they pretty much carted just about everything that we wore on our backs, if you know what I mean. They'd be line hauling between here and Auckland and back down to Wellington.
And all the cattle trucks and all those. And
but there's a lot of big Japanese trucks on the road now, whether it be Isuzu or Nissan, and you know.
Yes. And you still get a few Perkins popping up?
Used to in the early days, you know, but I haven't really done a Perkins for a while now. I sort of mainly go on to the Japanese because it's just so popular. And they're sort of, for me, they're a thing of the past, but I used to do lots of them.
Well, and here, motors and the big ones. You got a favourite motor before we move on? Favourite motor and favourite gearbox?
I wouldn't say that I've got a favourite really. I've got a best-selling engine.
Yeah, okay. What's the best selling?
4HF1 Isuzu, very popular on the market. It's not. I wouldn't say it was a bad engine. It's just about everyone's got a 4HF1 engine in them, and they're just very popular to sell. So that's sort of one of my favourites.
And that's a natural progression, all said and done, from Bedfords, isn't it?
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. We still a lot of Bedfords in the early days and D-series Fords with the old slant engine, like I think there's one down over there.
Oh, right, yes.
Next to that old Lister engine there.
Yeah.
So, I've pulled a few of those out in my time. But,
Yes. And deep personal question. You're getting in with your wrenches and spanners to pull something out. How many skin knuckles have you suffered over the years?
Plenty, mate. You still lose a bit of skin every now and again. Lost heaps of skin. Yeah.
Well, here we have it. It's like a bookshop. All the piles of motors, motoring history everywhere. But what about the bodyworks? You sell a few cabs?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. There's a big cab shed next door if you want to come next door and have a look.
Let's go and have a look.
Okay,
yes,
mate. Let's do it.
Fantastic. Well, Bruce, again, it's like this bookshop of cabs, and who thought you'd see so many cabs that all stacked up on shelves like this?
Yeah, we've only just recently done it. We realised that we were running out of room on the floor, so we're quite pleased that we've achieved getting them up in the air, and there's quite a few here if you counted them up.
Yeah, heck yes. Well, I can see 2, 4, 6, 8, about 20 just in a glance. Yeah. And that's in very narrow vision.
Without me counting them, I think there's an easy 50 good cabs.
Yeah. Now, someone wants a cab. What do they get when they order a cab from you?
As you can see with this one here, that's got what we call complete with wire loom. You can sell this cab, and the customer might go to fit it. No, the plugs are different. Then they've got to pull all the dash out, which is a major, and swap all the wire loom. So we started doing this about 8 years ago, where we supply it complete with the wire loom right through to the tail lights.
Oh, I see. That's a good,
So basically, it's a good complete cab. If it's got a couple of rust spots or a dent in it, you basically email it through to the customer. And,
because there's nothing worse. That wire loom is a fantastic. Nothing worse when you're stuck underneath and there's one pair of plugs that don't match. And it's a bit of a cunning marketing thing, I think, isn't it, by some of the manufacturers?
Actually, you just missed a cab going on the truck a couple of hours ago. A guy brought an engine off us, and Nathan, my boy, was just telling me. He was just saying that, the cab that just went on the truck there, and I said, yeah. He goes, that's the same guy that just bought the engine a month before. Put the engine and smashed it up, so they just bought a cab. One just went out today.
And, with them easy to have transported around, and
Yep, we pretty much have them on a pallet like that, and pretty much stick them on main freight, or sometimes we'll put them on a car transporter as well.
Now, I have heard a rumour that you've got a fantastic old comma truck engine, which is something that has way gone in the annals of trucking history. Can we go and have a look at that motor?
I think I can hear it running over there now. I think they've just fired it up.
Well, quiet, isn't it? Let's go and have a look.
Yeah, let's go and have a look.
So, Bruce, you got the committee assembled here. Bit of a find here.
Well, these guys wanted to drag it out and do a bit of a show off for you and fire up the old girl.
It's an interesting looking configuration of an engine there, Bruce. Tell me exactly what it is.
It's a TS3 comma engine. It's a 2-stroke, and it's one that's got 3 bores with 6 pistons that meet in the middle, and it's a 2-stroke and TS3 comma engine.
Yes. Now, of course, commas, they're one of almost a forgotten name, but certainly we're part of the Roots group, which is Chrysler and a lot Dodge and all that. All a big part of that history of New Zealand motoring and New Zealand trucks.
Yes, it is. Back in the D-series Ford days and Bedfords and and from what I can remember of them, guys used to wear earmuffs in the cab because they were a little bit noisy. They sounded a bit like a Detroit.
So what do you do with an engine like this? It's something that I'd be inclined to keep.
Yeah, that's what it's for. When we got the opportunity to go and pick it up, I said to Dave, we should go and grab it, and if it's a good engine, we'll just keep it like this on display. And if you guys are interested, we can fire it up for you.
Oh, that'd be fantastic. And then can we grab Dave for a little bit? Because
Yes.
I hear he's done the long hauls and old inters.
Yeah, you might want to tell you about some old girlfriends in the back of the T-line.
All right, yeah, we look forward to that.
Yeah.
No radiator anywhere to be seen.
Oh, that's why we can't run it any longer than that.
I see.
Yeah. We have considered putting a radiator on it, but we're just too busy. We're supposed to be out here working.
Yeah, exactly. Well, great little place to have a play, and nice to see a boss that lets his men come and have a play with some of the toys.
You want to see us here on a Friday night?
I had experience of that. Well, we're going to catch up with Dave because he's done a few miles in an old international and want to find a bit about those girlfriends along the way. Well, Dave, you've been absolutely landed in it. Your boss says you drove this truck for quite a few miles, and you had a few lady friends along the way.
Oh, I don't know about that. Odd woman may have gone for a drive with me to Auckland, and it used to belong to Car Haulage here in New Plymouth when they were running, and it is like a little bit of a favourite of mine. There's only ever, I think, don't quote me, but only 6 of these trucks actually come into the country that were actual single drive T-line, and in the day they had like a Freightliner, ERF, but I preferred to drive this truck. It was, to me, the more comfortable, easier to drive, and I did a lot of miles between New Plymouth and Auckland.
Because International had a little bit of a reputation of being screamers, especially when the Jacobs brake came on. Was this one of those?
Yeah, it did have a Jacobs and was noisy. I think that's why they got signs on all the towns between here and Auckland there so you can't use your Jacobs. But yeah, no, it's definitely a good truck in its day. And the thing I liked about the T-lines, even to look at them today, it doesn't look like an old truck. They were way ahead of their time, so I felt.
Which is something American trucks often, and American vehicles stay stuck in a rut for a long while, but nice to see International getting way ahead.
Yeah. I have actually got Kiwi Transport's International T-line. It was the very first T-line to come into New Zealand with a 350 Cummins in it, and I won't let that go. It's sitting in a yard around the corner. It's a bit of nostalgia as well.
Yeah.
Bruce said to me when this came in, because he was going on that it was like an old girlfriend the way I was fussing over it, but I actually was tempted to buy this and put it beside the other one, but it's just you
Is
can't
it going to be wrecked, or is it going to be a yard truck?
It will get wrecked, I think, which is a shame really, because there's most probably not another single drive one left in the country.
No.
It would be a shame to see it get wrecked, but
Give Bruce a ring and make an offer on the whole lot. That's the way to save it, is it?
Yeah. If somebody wanted to restore it, that would be good. You know, it is got a bit rusty and that, but still goes and drives.
And it would be a great truck to put a trailer on for carting tractors and things to the to shows and all the rest of it, wouldn't it? Be perfect.
Yeah. And there's no reason why it wouldn't get a certificate if the rust was done in the cab. You know, everything else is in working order, you know.
Yeah.
A good tidy up. It would be still a valuable truck.
Does she start now?
I think it's got a flat battery there at the moment, but yeah, it would. We have driven it around, and but I think it's got flat batteries in it at the moment, but other than that it would start up and drive, no problem at all. Yeah.
Well, beautiful. We've got to tell another little secret. This man has driven these great big things. He's also been a star of Speedway, but what's your latest high-speed sport you're into?
Oh, lawnmowers, and I'm waiting for you to come out for a ride on Sunday. We just had a meeting there last Sunday. You could have come and had a ride. You definitely need to come and have a go.
Yes. So look up lawnmower racing in New Zealand, and you can have a whole lot of fun. But get one of these and you can have a whole lot more fun.
Yeah, well, you could buy that and tow the lawnmower around the country, couldn't you?
Or get the lawnmower to tow it on its bad days.
Yeah. So,
well, trucks are an important part of everyday farm life. The whole infrastructure of New Zealand's transport is based around trucks. Some would say it should be based more around the rail, but it doesn't appear so. But the thing is, there are wrecking yards that you get a truck, you can give them a call and get them restored. And there's an amazing amount of history walking around in here, from Cummins to Comma to International, and throw in a load of Japanese as well. It's all here, and we look forward to seeing you next week on Vintage New Zealand Farm Machinery.